A total missed opportunity. They should have named this episode Frieren at Journey's End. Frieren has found her end, becoming a slave in a mining shaft. Oh my gosh, episode 33 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Really awesome episode. I just love the first half. The first half, I guess technically both halves have sort of a similar theme to it. It's the idea of the foolish elves and the mischief they cause in the future. The fact that Frieren over here has this massive debt, and yes, the very first half being the idea of like leaving behind some message that people see way too much value in. I do think there's a lot to be said in the first half in the idea of how people perceive history. I am the type of person that I do believe the idea of learning from the past. You should always know history, you should know about wars and whatnot, so that you don't repeat those things. Yes, you have to put like a certain value to it and understand that it's, sort of in the encompassing nature of its time, how people were back there and their values and all that kind of stuff. And yes, laws and what people want to perceive as good or not has to be seen in that way as well. That people change, society changes and all that kind of stuff. But yes, going back to this actual episode, getting the idea of like reading this thing, this inscription, and believing this has to be true. They said it right here, and that's because obviously dwarves want their liquor, obviously, right? This has to be true. I need to seek this thing out because this person said so. And then seeing, yes, the actual truth and the idea that Frieren's like, yeah, they sell that. That's cheap stuff at the coronation. That stuff's garbage. And this elf's over here like, yeah, I was bored and I decided to write this down, that it's incredible. And sure enough, it's terrible. It was a good little punchline. But again, there's like a message in there. There's a message in there of like sort of, understanding that whatever you read from the past isn't going to be like 100%. It's going to be, again, to its time. But yes, let's get in the episode proper. Episode 33, opening up the episode with them getting to a grain-producing region of the Northern Plateau, specifically this one little town that is doing a lot of exports of it. And yes, we find this dwarf there who is named Fos, who has found Boshaft, or he's close to discovering Boshaft. And of course, as they're leaving, he ends up confronting Frieren, saying, hey, where's that one guy that was with you, that brother from 100 years ago? I like the fact that this guy is like, hey, it's been 100 years, Frieren. Where's Heiter? It's only been 80 years. The dude's dead. The dude's dead, of course. It, I guess, goes the idea of that these long-lived individuals, I mean, Frieren especially, but like with Eisen as well and the other dwarves, they're not going to really see time or perceive time as the same. But yes, apparently he didn't make it in time. He was actually looking for Boshaft for Heiter. It seems like there was like a side of it that he wanted to do it for Heiter as well. But there could be an idea of like wanting to rope in Frieren by using Heiter. But anyways, yes, he's found it and he decides to bring Frieren inside there. Get a little bit of knowledge about Fos himself and the idea that this guy is like, they assumed that he is a miner, but he actually had to study and learn how to become a miner because he was from a big city. But yeah, he learned how to mine just so that he can make his own mine shaft in order to find these ruins where apparently there was a stock of this Boshaft. And yes, he found this particular monument that was written by an elf. And yes, Frieren immediately is like, yep, it's them. I remember them. I knew it. It had to be them. This is one of those moments where it's like you kind of assume that Frieren herself doesn't really remember things, or at least like acknowledge certain things as being important. So she kind of discards it. But again, it's sort of like the hero's journey, where now she's sort of reliving those memories that she did acknowledge. She just didn't see value in it at the time. But anyways, yes. They end up going to where the actual ruins are, and yes, there's a barrier up there, and immediately Frieren's like, nope, it would take too long, it's gonna take like 3 months, I'm not doing it. Guy's like, I'll pay you. It's so funny, because it's like, she's like, no, they'll get mad at me, we can't do this. And yes, there's probably a side of it where she's like, this guy's gonna be really let down. I mean, there's no point to even doing this. They're gonna get angry at me, you're not gonna like what you get. But I think it's like the two of those together, and she's about to say no, but then she's like, are you gonna give me a grimoire? There's like a brief moment where she's like, well, if you give me a grimoire, I'm perfectly fine with it, but I'm not gonna do it if you don't give me a grimoire. No, he's like, no, I don't have that. I'm gonna give you a bunch of money, a whole bunch of money, which apparently perked the ears of Ferd and Stark as they feel bad for the guy and suddenly want to help him out because it's a lot of money. It's a whole lot of money. We'll have to work for a while. Which, based on the second half of the episode, I'm kind of assuming that she lost all that right there to that her debt. They had a whole bunch of money and she's already lost it all. But yeah, anyways, they decided to go ahead and help him out. It's going to take like 3 months. Got the whole montage of them working to, unseal it and everything. Until eventually you do get a little scene with Fern acknowledging that Frieren doesn't look like he's happy. You're close to undoing it and you don't look happy. Which, yes, this is where we get the acknowledgement of, What if you, studied your entire life or, pursued something your entire life just to find out that it's terrible? And we get that little brief flashback of this elf. And the fact that it seems like their whole shtick is that they just spend their entire time doing nothing. They just do. It seems like, based on what they say, all elves sort of seek to do something. They spend a majority of their life or their long lifespans in order to pursue something specifically. I mean, we see with Frieren, it seems like she's been spending a lot of her time just seeking out knowledge and spells. But they all seeked out something. And it seems like it's based on this particular elf. Because this elf, Milliard, because she wastes so much time, because she does nothing but sit around and do nothing, most other elves do something with their life, so they don't end up like them. And yes, it seems to imply that they did something in the past. They sought out something, and it turned out to be terrible, because she said something to the effect of, like, that I'm just talking about myself or something like that. Like, they did something, and that's probably why they're doing this now. Or it could just be saying specifically because they do this. They're always wasting their time. They're always seeking out something terrible, which is nothing. But either way, that all said, that leads into the punchline of the entire segment here, which is the fact that, yes, well, before she got back to here, she was wasting some time over in this one kingdom, and she decided to inscribe on this one thing that this drink is the best ever. She left a raving review on the side of a tablet, left a raving review for this horrible liquor just because. Why'd you do that? No reason at all. No reason. I just wrote that because I just wanted to. Which, yes, that's the punchline to this whole thing, is that this poor guy wasted 200 years of his life trying to look for something because this Milliard left a raving review on the side of a tablet, which obviously, again, because it's inscribed into a wall, it's got to be true, right? It's got to be something great, right? And technically, because it's also sealed behind a barrier, which I'm assuming she did that too. I have no doubt Milliard created that entire barrier, locked a bunch of stuff in there to preserve it, and then did the inscription, because that was a very powerful spell. And I'm assuming, again, Frieren probably knew that. But yeah, anyways, they end up unlocking it. Guy's super excited, rushes inside there, and yes, it's terrible. I did kind of ponder for a minute, because I was like, a side of me that was like, are they gonna? There's like two routes they can go with this whole joke. Is the idea that on this one, this dwarf ends up loving it, either because he has different taste buds than everybody else, or a different taste bud specifically to, elves, or that because he wanted it so bad, it led to him literally tricking his mind into thinking that it was something great. It's like the snake oil thing. Because the raving review, and I've been thinking this 200 years, he tricks his brain into thinking it's something special and great. And then Frieren's over here like, no, it's still horrible. And he's like, no, what are you talking about? It's great. Or the other route they go with is, yes, that it ends up being terrible. And yeah, the big punchline's right there. But I love the little flashback to Heiter. And yes, it does kind of play into this guy's reaction to this whole thing, is the idea that Heiter asks, hey, why didn't you help him out? And Frieren's like, what if you were searching for something a long time and you discover that it's terrible? What would you do? And he's like, well, I'd probably drink it and laugh. We all laugh together, because it's all about like having this experience together. And sure enough, that's what kind of happens. This guy, even though he hates it, Frieren immediately kind of grabs it, says it's terrible. Hey, Stark, have some. Hey, Fern, have some. She starts to kind of pass it around and start to laugh it off. And it's like one of those rare W moments for Frieren where she like kind of reads the room and like really quickly tries to build up what Heiter would want. This is what Heiter would do. Like, it's a rare moment where it's not like, what would Himmel do? It's like, literally, what would Heiter do? The corrupt priest guy, what would this guy do? And sure enough, it works. This guy actually laughs it off and says, yeah, that's great. And sure enough, afterwards, it's like, I spent 200 years doing this, and it led to this horrible thing, and it sucks. It's a disappointment, but I've never had so much fun in my life. I've spent 200 years plus, his entire life, all this time, and this is the most fun I've ever had. Everybody enjoying this crap together. I'm going to make everybody suffer with this drink. I'm going to take it up there and tell everybody I found it, and everybody's going to be cheering on, and they're all going to swig at the same time with a big cheer, and then just spit it all out. It's cool. I like it. It was a little positive ending to it that I really did like. I figured it was going to kind of turn into a thing where this guy was going to be, yes, disappointed at first, but at the same time, still kind of acknowledge that, lesson learned. It's a lesson learned situation. The journey was still there, right? This guy spent 200 years, digging into these ruins to find this thing, but there's the key point. He learned how to do mining. He learned a little bit about Elven, ancient Elven. He probably learned all this stuff just for this one goal. And those are all experiences for him. So yeah, it's not always about the end game. It's not always about the end goal. There's that journey as well. But yeah, Milliard was a very interesting character. I'm kind of curious if they'll bring them back into the picture at some point. Again, it felt like to me that they were implying there was some sort of mistake, but it wasn't like they got into it at that time. So I'm not sure if that's actually going to be important or not. And again, it could be just implying the idea of wasting all of your time, but they were a bit goofy. I like the design though. I love the design of the character. Anyways, that's when we get into the second half of the episode, which is about, yes, Frieren's journey ending. Frieren's journey ending. How many of you folks out there would have paid off Frieren's debt? Would you go out and work really hard and try to strike it rich just so you can buy Frieren? I like how Fern's like, we got to buy Frieren back. And he's like, she's not like an object you could buy. I'm like, oh, that's right. Fern, I think he's right. Anyways, yes, the logistics of the Northern Plateau, which is about Norm Company Estate, which apparently is the place that keeps everything flowing, which I did kind of question about this last episode, this idea of because this place is so dangerous, how do people live here? Again, Frieren and Fern and Stark, they're traveling around and they're barely surviving. They're surviving, it's just that they're not given time to breathe. And yes, the things they're running into are extremely powerful. How do people even live here? Who's protecting these towns? Who's keeping stuff safe as they travel around? And it seems like this is the thing. Now it does, yes, they do imply at the very beginning there that they're dealing with like really stale bread. Fern, the bread's not supposed to make a clunk noise like that. It's supposed to be soft. And Frieren's over there like, yeah, you're gonna have to get used to this. This is how it is up here. You don't know nothing, boy. This is how we deal with rations up here. But yes, apparently because of this estate, they're able to kind of keep things flowing, and it seems like either their power has kind of dwindled or something has happened. This place, back when, Frieren was journeying up here, back then, it was like this was the place. I mean, even the state themselves couldn't stop them if they wanted to. They basically run these lands unofficially. Unofficially run these lands. But yes, apparently they're not doing very well, and sure enough, when they arrive there, immediately, Frieren is recognized. They bring him to the leader, the grandson of the last guy that was there, and say, hey, Frieren, you know that my grandfather gave you all that money? You gotta pay it back. I was like, this is going to be one of those things where like they kind of push the papers around and manipulate it in some way, or it's just pure inflation because this place isn't doing well right now like it was once before. That, the value of the money itself is probably inflated, and thus, instead of owing like $10, she now owes $5,000 because of inflation. I thought it was going to be a thing like that, yes, ends up roping her into doing something. It's really just the idea that this place is collapsing. It's literally collapsing, and the only way to save it is to strike rich. And it seems like this guy knew that Frieren can find silver, and so he sticks her inside of a mining shaft. It was goofy again, that whole little shot of her kind of transitioning over, and suddenly she's got nothing but rags on and a pickaxe. This is where my journey ends. I'm going to be here for 300 years. The guy's just dragging her away. And again, Fern's like, we got to buy her back. She's not an object you can just buy. You can't do that. I was okay with this whole segment. Again, it's that whole idea of like these individuals are, at the end, they have no choice here. It's either this or they collapse. I do like that idea that, yes, because they're not a nation, they can't just be like overthrown because they failed something. They're a trading company. So as long as they have value, as long as they have money, they can keep flowing. It's to like what they were saying at the very beginning of this whole segment, the idea that this is it's like a nation, but it's not a nation. They rule these lands, but they don't necessarily rule it. The state themselves don't even find a threat to them because they're not actually a nation. So as long as they have value, and that goes into, yes, as long as you can get me some silver, we can keep things going. It was interesting that Frieren sort of kind of alludes to the fact that his grandfather, was the only person, one of the few people that kind of seen them as a hero party, as having value. He entrusted them with a whole lot of money with no due date or anything like that, or interest, because he's seen the potential in them. I did note, though, and this wasn't in the manga just has the guy at the reception counter. He's flipping through a book and he finds Frieren in there. In the anime, it kind of pans down. You see all the different like wanted posters down there. All these debt wanted posters down there. And Frieren's there. And so is Aizen. Aizen was there too. And so again, that's one of those kind of like anime only things. So here's like the question mark that I have. If Aizen was there and Frieren was there, but Hyder and Himmel weren't there, Does that mean that this company knows that Heiter and Himmel passed away and thus they got rid of their charts? Or did Heiter and Himmel actually come back and pay off their debts? Question mark. Himmel would totally send the money back. Would Heiter? I wonder if Heiter would. I guess so. I mean, he turned out to be a solid man in the end, but I think it's not really necessarily to say that Heiter and Himmel are better than, specifically Eisen. I could see Frieren just putting this off again because they said that there's no due date. It's forever, right? Eisen, I don't know. Again, I might go to that whole thing where because Frieren and Eisen specifically are so long-lived, they don't see really like a urgency to go pay it off. Whereas Heiter and Himmel wanted to pay that off. Again, a lot of what Heiter could be, based on how they handle laws in here, could be to where that debt doesn't go to Fern specifically. But I did find it interesting that specifically Himmel and Heiter were not there anymore. But going back to the Norm Company, I do think this is a really cool message here in the idea that Frieren sort of seen a value in his grandfather and the idea that like this guy, was incredible. He came here, this place was barren, he made it into something. He created logistics, he brought people in here, and because of what he did, this place was able to flourish. It was able to grow. People were able to have protection. It was giving a lot of value to people's lives. It was bringing supplies to them. It was helping this place flourish. What his grandfather did was incredible. But unfortunately, it seems like, based on what he's saying, it's the attacks from the demons and whatnot, things got worse. He wasn't able to keep up with it. He lost too many men due to the wars with all the demons, and at some point, they just got to a point where they're crippled. And the only way to get back up on their feet is to have some sort of monetary value. They need money. Unfortunately, money is needed in order to keep things running. And so he needed that. And yes, sure enough, Frieren down there. The guy's showing up. He's like, I hate this place. It's all dusty and hot. Okay, let's get to work. Crazy magic spell. I kind of assume that's what it's going to be, is that she's going to find resources. She has some spell that finds minerals or something like that. And sure enough, right there, we're going to dig right here. Are you sure about that? Who do you think I am? All right, guys, get to work. She just goes over and sits down. It's like you kind of expect she's going to be down there, like, actually picking stuff. And then, sure enough, all she's doing is going, go pick right here. She's just basically turned into the foreman or something like that. Yeah, good job, Frieren. Nobody actually expected her to do physical labor, did we? It was goofy. But yes, they find the silver and pays off all of her debt. And yes, goes back to Fern and Stark and says, all right, let's go. Oh, we were just talking about how to free you. Yeah, we were planning on barging in there the mining shaft later tonight and freeing you. Like, Fern was totally, like, ready to just barge in there and go blasting. Just ready to start blasting. I don't know. There was a side of me that was like, at some point, I thought, okay, well, why don't I just run away? Like, are these guys going to really be able to stop Fern and Stark? Like, are they going to actually be able to beat them up? Yes, technically they did say that this area was essentially protected and like the military force was this company. Like, these people were, again, allowing people to travel. You have to have some incredibly powerful and very strong, capable people in order to, again, make travel and movement of goods be actually viable in this area. But yes, they were technically at their wits' end right here when they showed up, right? I guess they could have actually been able to fight them off. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Again, I really enjoyed that first half. I like that kind of foolishness of people and unfortunate reality of taking things a little bit too seriously, right? Taking things a little bit too seriously. Again, a healthy amount of understanding history in order not to repeat that history, and always understanding that it's to its times, to its societies and whatnot. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and want to support channel more, become a member. Until next time, you'll take care.